Hello everybody and welcome back to Vlog Talk. Today I am going to be unboxing a bunch of things that I purchased off of Wish, seeing if they are as advertised and if they even work. So the first item I'm going to start off with here is the one that I am personally most excited for. This fountain. Now I purchased this fountain because the one that we already had for Newt to use as a bathtub, unfortunately the motor in the pump did die and I was just having some difficulty keeping the tub really clean. It was just a little bit awkward, so I saw this one and it looks very round, it looks very smooth, so I thought it might be really easy clean, easy to maintain, and it has a really nice tall spout that I thought would produce a really nice calm water flow for Newt to be able to bathe and shower and do whatever he enjoys to do. Now, as you can see, this box came to me this way. I've already taken the product out of it. I wanted to make sure it was okay before making this video, but yeah, this is how the box came to me. It's the most destroyed package I've ever received from the mail. And yes, this product did come from all the way across the world, so obviously some damage is to be expected, but like this is the worst I've ever had with things getting shipped, and just the state of this box is absurd. I didn't think the product was actually going to have survived. Thankfully for me, it did do okay, so I'm gonna set this guy up, get it running here, and I'm gonna bring Newt out and see if we can get him to bathe, and I'll talk a little bit more about this once we've got it set up and running. So here it is. I am really actually quite happy with this, even with how destroyed that box was. The product itself is still fine. The entire thing is just plastic. So it's not, it's not stainless steel, it's nothing super fancy. For those of you who don't know, the whole premise of Wish is that they have a whole wide spectrum of items you can purchase online, and then you basically just have to pay shipping for each individual item, and you're supposed to be able to get the actual item for significantly cheaper than you would in a store. You just have to wait quite a while for the actual shipping. This item in particular, I wouldn't say I necessarily got for cheaper online though. This was about $56. Usually when looking for fountains inside pet stores, they're around $50 to $70. Some can get upwards into the hundreds depending on how fancy you get them. So this isn't that much of a discounted deal, but I've also never seen this exact one in a store. The other thing I quite enjoyed is that with a lot of these products, they don't have packaging, they don't tell you what brand they are, there's not a whole lot of information you can find on them. When it comes to bird products, it tends to be really important for you to know exactly where your product's coming from and what it's made of. So the fact that this did come with packaging that told me the brand and what it was made of, that was incredibly helpful and helps me know that the product that I'm using with my birds is 100% safe for them. This particular fountain is by the brand Pioneer Pet. It is a very popular brand when it comes to cat fountains. You will usually find things like this in the cat section or the water bowl section of most pet stores. So I was really happy to find actually a pretty good brand off of the Wish website, which was something I wasn't really expecting. But this I'm really happy with. Like, I'm wearing a microphone, so you can't really tell background noise and things like that anymore, but this isn't making any sound. Even the sound of the stream hitting the water isn't making a single noise. It's extremely silent. I do have Newt in here with me. He's just up on the chair behind me there. I'm not gonna force him to come and interact with this. I'm gonna leave this running throughout the course of this video, and we'll see if he kind of comes over and ventures and explores. If not, I'll probably do a little clip of Newt eventually coming and seeing this fountain when he did decide that he was comfortable enough with it. So I'm gonna leave this here. Really happy with this. This does exactly what I want it to. The stream is nice and gentle, the fountain is really quiet, and it's got a good deep bowl, which I could easily fill with some rocks or something, so it doesn't have to be quite as deep for them. And then he should be able to splash around in this just as he would. I might add a grippy part or something, just so that way they can climb a little bit easier in and out of this fountain. But otherwise, so far, this is exactly what I've been looking for. Next up on the list here, we have this guy. Now, this is supposed to be a pole, and you put the rings on it as a sort of trick. So I'm gonna quickly assemble this, and we'll be right back. All right, so here it is. That was really simple to put together. It's just one simple screw on the bottom that you put into the dowel on the top. They already had pre-drilled holes and everything, so it was nothing too difficult to attach. This came with more rings than I expected it to. I thought it was gonna come with 3, but it's actually come with 5. So I'm definitely not complaining about that, and it's got a couple different colors. A little disappointed that there's just 2 plain black, like there could have been a blue and a green, just to make it a little bit more interesting, and I could have done like a trick to differentiate colors. But the 3 that are there are interesting, and these are probably gonna be the only 3 I really use anyways. So I don't really need 5 rings. That's a bit excessive for anything I plan on doing with them. This is definitely gonna be something I think is gonna only have to be for Newt. These are a little bit heavier than expected. I don't believe they're hollow. So I don't think Mia's really going to be able to pick these up as well and lift them over the height of this. Additionally, these are actually quite thick, so I don't think Mia would actually be able to pick them up with how smooth they are. Newt and Newt's beak size, he should have no issue with this, but for a bird Mia's size, she's probably going to struggle a little bit more with this. This is pretty much exactly as advertised. There's nothing wrong with this. My only concern is that I do not see them listing what material this is. So it doesn't list what type of wood this is, so I'm not gonna let the birds interact with this until I have that information. Same with the screw on the bottom. I don't know if that's a stainless steel screw or not, so I will have to contact the company and double check that information before I actually let them interact with this. Otherwise, this seems really good. The height is as listed on the website. It's actually quite strong and sturdy once you get the screw in there. Nothing's coming loose. The holes were drilled to the perfect size already in it. All right, what we got in this one. So this I'm really happy with. For one, it's packaged really well. Not only was it in its sealed shipping package, but it's also wrapped quite tightly in its own plastic. So as it gets shipped, contaminants aren't going to get onto it. It does have a silica packet in it as well to help reduce any odds of mold or thing like that developing, which is incredibly promising. Additionally, the seller also listed what kind of wood this was, and they listed it as being grape wood, and looking at this, I would say they're being accurate. So I'm gonna get this out of the plastic. So it's got the same standard attachments that you would get from a store, the same washer and wing nut attachment that they usually come with. So there's nothing unusual there. The wood does appear to be not treated. It does appear to still actually have some bark on it, which is rather cool because usually when I buy grapewood perches, they've been completely stripped. This one still has a little bit of bark that I can kind of peel and pick at, which will be really, really fun for the birds. It doesn't smell chemically. It doesn't feel like there's a coating on it or anything weird. It feels like a totally natural branch. The ends are the same color as they would normally be, so it's pretty safe to say that this isn't treated with anything. Of course, I will message the company beforehand to double check. This is a really good size perch. It was $11, so that's not, again, super crazy cheap in comparison to what you can find in a store. But where I'm presently living, the only natural perches I can find are manzanita. I actually can't really find grapewood or anything else where I am, outside of just taking some branches and making my own, which is a lot of work and can take a lot of time. This is probably my next best option. How much this would usually cost for American dollars would be around $12.99. I am Canadian, so my prices on Wish are in Canadian dollars. And this was $11 from them even. So this is actually quite a bit cheaper if you include the exchange rate than it would have been for me to order from an American website and get it shipped in here. So I'm quite happy with this, and I will probably order more perches from this person in the future. More assembly required. This is a shower perch. This is gonna take me a little bit of time. Ooh, double bagged. Here's the picture. How this goes together. Bam. Okay, so this did not come with any instructions on how to put it together. The fountain did, and everything else was pretty straightforward. So this is not that difficult to put together if you look at the picture of what it's supposed to look like, and everything fit together really nicely. I didn't have to push anything too hard. No glues, adhesives, and it is all PVC. All of the PVC pieces actually say exactly what kind they are and all of that helpful information. So that is really, really good. All of this is waterproof. Fantastic. These suction cups look intense. I'm gonna go test them out on something. Okay, so this is my shower wall. We've got our suction cups here. Not bad, honestly. It's actually holding pretty well. Obviously, they're a little stiff from shipping, but yeah, they're doing the job. So this was only $8. And that's a massive deal for anyone else who's been looking at shower perches. They're usually like $20 easy for a shower perch. And usually for smaller birds, they've only got 2 suction cups. They might have a third one down here. But that's honestly an incredibly good deal with this, and there's nothing wrong with these materials. Obviously, you don't want your bird chewing and eating a suction cup, but shower perches are intended to be used under supervision only, so that's not something I personally have an issue with. My one big complaint is this guy here. Generally on shower purchase, this is some sort of rubber or it's some sort of sanded material, so it can be a little grippier. This is just colored PVC. There's nothing on this. It's smooth as can be. And I mean, you get what you pay for. This was $8. So I'm probably gonna wrap this in vet wrap or something like that, and that will be an easy enough solution to my problem. But yeah, if you don't have vet wrap or sisal or something to wrap this in that can be water resistant, this is definitely incredibly cheap, and you can tell just by that. However, I will say the one thing I'm loving about this is if I have it on my wall and I'm showering, I often hit my head on this because I don't bother taking these things down every time. I can just push this one in, and that's fantastic. My other one has a screw that goes in the back here to hold it in place, so you can't do that pivot. However, what I'm quickly noticing here is that is kind of a loose connection. So if you have a pretty heavy bird, oh, maybe not. It seems like this would pop out pretty easy. Oh, yeah, you kind of gotta, yeah, maybe not. It's something I'm probably gonna try and figure out how to fix. I might put a screw through this part so it can still pivot, but now it's not gonna fall out of that one little pop there. But it's not gonna slip off of that quite as easily. So I'm probably gonna have to modify this a little bit, but otherwise this is actually a really good price for what you get here, and it looks like it'll be pretty functional. Okay, so this one, I remember exactly why I ordered this one, and it's because it was a prime example of really terrible Photoshop and just really bad understanding of sizes and bird sizes. So I will not be giving this to my birds for a couple of reasons. One, these are rock solid hard beads that have been artificially painted with dyes that they shouldn't be consuming. These plastic rings are not safe because they can get their beaks stuck in them. This type of bell is not safe because they can get this little piece on the inside here off and swallow them. Also, the bell is also painted. They can easily chip that off. This type of hanger is also quite dangerous. There's a lot of stories of birds getting their toes and their beaks stuck on the inside of these and having to go to the vet to have them removed because they've actually punctured the inside of their mouths. There's a lot going on with this that is super dangerous. I will not be giving this to my birds. This clip in of itself comes apart. It's just one of those things. This isn't a safe product for the birds to have at all. I can't get this back together. Oh no. So yeah, this is not something my birds are ever gonna see. This is gonna be going straight into the garbage. And that guy there was a measly $3 if anyone was wondering. So let's see what's next. This guy. So I'm really excited to look at this one. Most of the others I took a quick peek at just so I could double check certain things, make sure everything arrived functional and things like that. Well, hi. So this guy here is a rip-off Aviator harness. Now, anybody who's looked into harnesses knows that Aviator harnesses are super expensive, and for very good reason. They're very well-made harnesses. But I was very curious if this was manufactured similarly, and if it would even be a viable option. So this harness here was $15. For reference, the same sized harness made by the Aviator brand is closer to $30 to $40. They are not cheap harnesses. And like I said, for very good reason, they have a lot of safety considerations put into them. There's a lot of things that they put into account when they produce them, their bungee cords, the way they put everything together to make sure birds don't want to chew it. Looking at this though, it actually looks like they're manufactured the same. And I would even say that some of the materials are a better option. My issue I had with the Aviator in the past was that they actually made it too heavy for small birds. Even their new extra small, mini, absolutely teeny tiny, smallest size they made specifically for parrotlets and budgies was too heavy for my parrotlets to actually use reliably, so I just stopped using them. But this material that they've used here actually seems to be a much better option. It's almost silky, it's very, very smooth, it's not gonna catch on feathers and cause issues. It's quite durable, it's double stitched, nothing's gonna come apart here. I'm not seeing any frayed edges. The whole thing is held together very, very well. Even these joints here, the key thing with the Aviator is that they kind of melt the entire seam together. So even if they chew at it, it's not gonna crumble at that one spot. They've done the exact same thing here. I'm honestly not seeing any differences. Give me 1 second, I'll go grab the Aviator that I do have and we'll compare the two. So this is the size down. This is the size that's supposed to be appropriate for parrotlets. And I got this size to be appropriate for newt. Now, Wish didn't list actual sizing for this. They didn't say what size was appropriate for what bird. So I ordered based off of the Aviator's sizing, and that seems to have been pretty accurate. So if you're considering doing the same thing, just stick to the Aviator's sizing guide and you'll probably be pretty safe. This is constructed identically. I don't see a single dang difference between these two products. There's one little difference here that this is crimped a little bit differently, but it's the exact same principle. It's not coming out, it's quite strong. The melted hinges are legitimately identical. I'm sorry it's hard for you guys to see because this one's black and it's tiny, but all of the joints and the way the thing is put together, it looks like they literally bought an Aviator harness and then went through and analyzed it and made their own duplicate of it. The only thing I can say that's honestly different is the material. The Aviator is a little bit scratchier. While it is still smooth, it's got those kind of ridges to it that kind of catch on fur and can cause some issues sometimes. This is legitimately like silk. It's still got that ribbed design, but it's actually quite a bit smoother. I think the bungee cables are the same. The Aviator's is a little bit stiffer, like it's got a bit more resistance, but it's also heavier. And that was my biggest complaint with the Aviator, was that it was too heavy. And I'm sure there's a reason why they chose the heavier one, and I'm sure there's a reason for that, but it's got way more give to it than the Aviator does. And when it comes to a bird hitting the end of the rope, you kind of want that slow give to it. You don't want them to hit the end of this really thick rope. With how tight this is, no matter how fast a bird as small as Mia is flying, they're not actually going to be able to produce that. That's going to fling them straight backwards, whereas this is going to let them kind of slowly slow down, turn, and make a decision. When she hits the end of this one, when ZB used to hit the end of this one, she would hit the end and basically fall to the ground because this made her come to such a sudden stop. So that is actually really exciting. I didn't think this was going to work. I thought this was going to be an absolutely terrible product. But I might actually give this a try, give it a couple safety tests, some good tugs, and maybe we'll harness train Newt. Okay, so there's one more product, and that is this guy here. This is a rope net. Now there's already some issues right off the hop that I can see, and that is these little clasps. How much was this guy? 23. So this was another kind of misleading image. So they post this image of this really, really thick sisal rope net with an African gray dangling off of it. And obviously, this ain't super thick rope with an African gray dangling off of it. That I kind of saw coming. I honestly thought it was going to be a little bit better, but it probably would have been cheaper for me just to buy the rope and make this myself. And I could probably buy $20 worth of sisal rope that is hanging from the bird's room ceiling and have made this myself. The knots aren't particularly strong. Like, I can just kind of slide these wherever I deem fit. They're not particularly well made. I will say added bonus is that there's definitely no adhesives used on this. A lot of the times companies and people will make these and they'll add just a little bit of glue on the inside of the knot to hold it together and make sure it stays in its spot. But obviously we don't want birds eating glue, so it's nice that they didn't do that. I don't mind that it slides around. I am a little disappointed that this isn't quite as nice as it was advertised to be, especially with these clasps here. I personally have a whole collection of little clasps that are safe for birds laying around, so it's not the end of the world to me that it came with really cheap, dangerous clasps. I can just take these off and switch them out. It's not going to cost me anything. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong with this. This rope doesn't appear to be oiled in any way. It does appear to be totally natural. There's no glue. There's no weird chemically smells. It does just appear to be totally natural sisal rope, which is what it was advertised to be. It is smaller than anticipated. However, looking back at the seller's page product description, it does list this as accurate sizing. The length and width that it advertised are correct, but the image it posts is misleading, and that is, of course, one of the many faults of purchasing things online, especially from websites like Wish. But there's nothing actually wrong with this product, and this is a fine size for my two small birds. Not as big as for what I was intending to use it for, but I can still definitely find a good use for it. Not bad. I'm especially happy with the fountain and actually even the shower perch. I'm a little disappointed that the base wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, but I have vet wrap laying around. I can make that work, and for how cheap this was in comparison to how much it cost to buy from a store, I'm not honestly that disappointed by it. All in all, do I think I'll order bird things from Wish again? Maybe not. Maybe unless there's some really spectacular thing I see online. I might order more perches, but outside of that, I don't really think I'm going to be ordering things regularly off of Wish for the birds. There's just too much guesswork involved with ordering the product. There isn't enough product consistency. The descriptions aren't always accurate. Products can be very misleading in the images. It's just so much more risk than it's worth, especially with how much work has to go into me calling or emailing each and every single one of these manufacturers to double check the materials that they've used and things like that. Whereas if I go to a store, I can buy a product, I can see the little label stuck to the product that will tell me what it's made of, where it was made, and contact information to be able to find more information if I need it, or a website. Half of these products don't have company names. A lot of them don't tell you who's made them or what it's made of, and that can be very, very risky and makes it a lot harder for me to make sure that what I'm giving the birds is in fact safe. So I'm gonna have to go do some more digging, especially with this guy here, to make sure that it is actually safe for the birds to be using. That being said, it's still just kind of fun to scroll through and find things. I've definitely found some really good dog products off of their website before. Birds and really sensitive animals, maybe not worth the risk though. But that's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun recording it. I hadn't seen anybody else do this for bird products before. If they have, I'm sorry, no idea that you did. But I don't know, I had fun. I thought I'd try something new, and this was a lot of fun for me, and now I've got a new fountain for Newt. Other than that, that's gonna do it for today's video. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you all next time. Bye.